Day 10. Biggest day yet by far. More than 125 people behind me getting arrested today. Brave people, including our nation's chief climate scientist, Jim Hansen, who took a day off from his job at NASA to come down here. This thing is growing with every day. CNN and NBC are down here today. We need you to come join us. If you can get here in the course of the week, there's nothing more important you could be doing. I know it is inconvenient. I know it's a pain. We really need you. This is the biggest civil disobedience action in the environmental movement in a generation. And if we can keep it growing, it'll...
Wow. Those are the bravest people in the world. This is the most important human rights fight in the world. Not talking about Iran, not talking about Darfur, not talking about Saudi Arabia. Talking about Canada. It's time to blame Canada. And someone who I know shares my hatred for Canada is Alykhan Velshi. Alykhan, I'm joking around. You went down there. You answered the call. You went down to Washington, D.C. to join these anti-Canadian protesters. Why do they hate us, Alykhan? Why do they hate us?
I went to protest the protesters. You know, they want to stop Keystone XL, which will bring more Canadian oil to the United States.
That's the name of the big pipeline.
That's the name of the big pipeline. And but what they're really protesting is replacing the U.S.'s dependence on Middle Eastern conflict oil and Venezuelan conflict oil with Canadian oil.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if they were outside the Saudi embassy, I'd get it. If they were outside the Iranian embassy, I'd get it. But they're outside the White House saying, don't let those damn Canadians in. Look, the last time we tangled with America, War of 1812, we kicked them around. We burnt their White House down. So I get it. They're a little afraid of us. But we're Boy Scouts of the world compared to Iran and Saudi Arabia. You set up another, you're with ethicaloil.org, my favorite organization, but you set up a satirical group called Americans for OPEC.com. Tell me about that, and let's see if we can grab a picture of that while we're talking.
Right. Well, what Bill McKibben...
There we go. Look at that.
What Bill McKibben is talking about is he wants people to protest bringing more Canadian oil to the U.S.
So blame Canada, not our OPEC allies.
Right.
Keystone XL, blame Canada. We love OPEC. Very funny. Obviously a Photoshop image. Is there real... So you went down there with American for OPEC. What did you do when you were down there? Did you meet Bill McKibben?
I saw him. I didn't get to talk to him directly. He definitely saw me. And I went there, and I was joined by two women wearing Saudi-style burqas. This is the full face-covering black garment.
Were these more performance artists?
These are Washington, D.C.-based performance artists.
There we go there. And Stop Canada, Americans for OPEC. Stop
Canada, stop the tar sands, Americans for OPEC.com.
Now, how were these women received? So you got a couple women in burqa, and it's not quite sure if it's a joke, Americans for OPEC.com. How were they received? I see there's some guy there with some other, lots of protesters outside the White House. How were the women in burqas treated by the professional protesters like Bill McKibben?
Well, when they figured out what these women were up to, which was satirizing their protest, they chased them out. They surrounded them.
So it was like a Saudi-style whipping circle.
Absolutely. In fact, there's, you know, if you go to our website, ethicaloil.org, there's actually a picture of these women being surrounded, and all you see is them holding their billboard above the heads of the, you know, the Bill McKibben-style protesters.
And what happened when they were surrounded?
Well, you know, they were being shouted at. People were trying to figure out who they were.
What were they shouting at them?
Oh, they were just, you know, they shouting fascist. They were asking if... so
if they were calling women in burqas fascist?
AIPAC. They were asking if it was AIPAC.
AIPAC, that's the Jewish lobby. The American...
Yeah.
So
of course, their first instinct is that the Jews must be behind it, because that, you know...
Were the girls scared, the performance artists?
No,
were they scared?
They were brave. They knew what they were getting themselves, you know, they knew what they were getting themselves into, and they wanted to make the point that the alternative to Canadian oil sands oil is OPEC oil. It's Saudi oil. And, you know, even if the anti-Keystone protesters don't realize that, that's the agenda they're serving.
Now, you debated with Daryl Hannah, and let's see if we can get some clips of that while we're talking here. Daryl Hannah, super hot 25 years ago in the movie Splash. What was it like sitting next to a fading star in 2011?
Well, you know, there's something, I think, pathetic about an actress who can't get them any sort of media celebrity because people want to see their movies. They have to do it through political activism against Canada.
Well, I mean, Leo DiCaprio is still an A-lister, and he had his dumb tweet yesterday on Twitter, and he said that the Keystone XL pipeline has already sprung 12 leaks, therefore we shouldn't support it. I'm wondering how the Keystone XL pipeline could spring 12 leaks. According to, there's a shot of you and your new girlfriend. I'm wondering, she actually looks pretty good for someone who's pushing 60. I think I should look so good when I'm in my 50s.
You should look so good now, Ezra.
Yeah, she looks so good. When DiCaprio, who still is an A-lister, said 12 leaks from Keystone XL. The pipeline's not even built. That's the kind of BS. But why should the facts get in the way of these propagandas?
Exactly. There's a lot of junk science, a lot of junk facts that the opponents of Canada's oil sands are pushing. Daryl Hannah was actually called out by the CBC after the fact for some of the junk facts she was spewing during that interview.
Alykhan, we got to stop it there because we're out of time. Time goes too quickly. But I appreciate you coming back. I'm glad you're in one piece. I'm glad you weren't roughed up. And I know they accused you of being a Jew down there, and that's about the worst accusation you can make. So thanks for putting up with that. Hey, we're going to go to break now with our ethicaloil.org counter ad to the Keystone protest as a balance to McKibben's madness. Take a look at it. We'll see you after the break.
Fact. Last year we bought over 400 million barrels of oil from Saudi Arabia. We bankrolled a state that doesn't allow women to drive, doesn't allow them to leave their homes or work without their male guardian's permission, and a state where a woman's testimony only counts for a half of a man's. Why are we paying their bills and funding their oppression? Today there's a better way. Ethical oil from Canada's oil sands. Ethical oil, a choice we have to make.